pipelines, but the action had little to do with winning or stopping the war in Ukraine. It resulted from fears in the White House that Germany would waver and turn on the flow of Russian gas, and that Germany and then NATO, for economic reasons, would fall under the sway of Russia and its extensive and inexpensive natural resources, and thus followed the ultimate fear that America would lose its long-standing primacy in Western Europe.
Another bombshell revelation by Seymour Hersh with his most recent article. It really reveals the decision as to why Washington decided to blow up the Nord Stream pipelines and why it chose the timing that it did. It all has to do with the influence that Washington was afraid that Russia would exert on Western Europe and Germany with the sale of cheap natural gas expected to go through these Nord Stream pipelines that at that time of the attack were actually not flowing any natural gas. Now, in terms of the sabotage operation and the associated planning, this is that amounted to a delicate several months project in which everything was done to cover up the CIA's tracks. I mean, all of the documents associated with this operation were typed up on typewriters. They were immediately destroyed after the operation's completion, and all reports were made exclusively to the head of the CIA, who then passed information on to U.S. President Joe Biden.
The White House was isolated from the goings-on near Oslo. Various reports and updates from the field were directly provided to CIA Director Bill Burns, who was the only link between the planners and the president who authorized the mission to take place on September 26, 2022. Once the mission was completed, the typed papers and carbons were destroyed, thus leaving no physical trace, no evidence to be dug up later by a special prosecutor or a presidential historian. You could call it the perfect crime.
According to Hersh, Washington also chose to attack the Nord Stream pipelines because it didn't feel like there would be any problem about denying involvement in the attacks. It's all something that Russia's foreign ministry is calling a very important series of revelations.
The Hersh investigation is cooler than Watergate. American presidents have never gone this deep before. The Biden administration is obliged to provide a thorough response on all counts.
On top of that, Hersh also says that German Chancellor Olaf Scholz knew about preparations for the attacks in advance, actually. And it's really not all that surprising, considering what Hersh calls a legacy of U.S. politicians trying to weaponize natural resources for political purposes, something that obviously continues into the current day, as we see with this intent on destroying the Nord Stream pipelines.
If Russia invades, then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
I am, and I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea.
These pipelines, that is Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, were not pumping gas into Europe. That offers tremendous strategic opportunity for the years to come.
So with even more bombshell revelations from Seymour Hersh and a clear U.S. malintent when it came to Nord Stream pipelines, I mean, it's